The old house loomed at the end of the street, shrouded in shadow. Broken windows stared like vacant eyes. Locals whispered of a curse no one dared go near, except, of course, for the group of friends foolish enough to accept the dare. There were 4 of them: Emily, the brave one; Ben, the cautious one; Olivia, the skeptical one; and Lucas, always up for a challenge. They stood before the rusted gate, a silent promise hanging in the air. This was more than just a dare. It was a test of courage. They pushed open the creaking gate and stepped onto the overgrown path. The air grew heavy, filled with the scent of damp earth and decay. A murder of crows took flight, their harsh cries echoing in the stillness. Each step closer to the imposing structure sent shivers down their spines. The house seemed to watch their every move, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets. Emily, ever the bold leader, reached for the tarnished doorknob. It turned with a groan, as if protesting after years of silence. The heavy door creaked open, revealing a gaping maw of darkness. A cold gust of wind swept past them, carrying with it the whisper of forgotten voices. With a mixture of fear and excitement, they crossed the threshold into the unknown. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight that pierced the gloom. The air hung thick and stagnant, heavy with the weight of time and neglect. Cobwebs draped the furniture like ghostly shrouds. The only sounds were the soft creaking of the house and the frantic beating of their own hearts. They stepped cautiously into the hallway, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The faded grandeur of the house was evident in the remnants of its past, a sweeping staircase with a polished banister, now coated in dust. A crystal chandelier, its prisms cloudy with age. A moth-eaten tapestry depicting a hunting scene, the colors muted by time. Each room they explored told a story of forgotten lives, of laughter and sorrow now faded into whispers. But it was the silence that was most unsettling, a silence that seemed to hum with unseen energy. They found themselves in what was once a grand living room. A fireplace dominated one wall, its hearth cold and empty. Above it hung a portrait of a stern-looking man, his eyes seeming to follow their every move. As they moved closer, Lucas swore he saw the man in the portrait blink. They all stopped, holding their breath. The house seemed to hold its breath too, the silence pressing in on them. "Let's go upstairs," whispered Emily, breaking the spell. They left the living room, its shadows seeming to reach out after them as they climbed the grand staircase, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. The upper hallway was dark and dusty, lit only by the sliver of light coming from the window at the far end. The air was thick with the smell of damp plaster and decay. Closed doors lined the hallway, each one a mystery waiting to be unveiled. Ben ran his hand along the wall, his fingers tracing the outline of peeling wallpaper. He stopped, his hand resting on something unexpected, a door handle concealed beneath layers of paint and grime. "Look!" he exclaimed, his voice hushed with excitement. The others gathered around, their eyes wide with curiosity. They had missed this door entirely when they explored the hallway earlier. It was as if it had materialized out of thin air. With bated breath they watched as Ben reached for the handle. It turned with a grating sound and the door creaked open, revealing a small dusty room. The room was dimly lit by a single cobweb-covered window. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of light, illuminating the room's strange contents. An antique rocking chair stood in the corner, its seat worn smooth with age. A vanity table with a cracked mirror stood against one wall, its surface cluttered with dusty perfume bottles and a silver hairbrush. But it was the portrait above the fireplace that drew their attention. It was a young girl with piercing blue eyes and an unsettling smile. Lucas stepped closer to the portrait, mesmerized by the girl's enigmatic smile. He felt an inexplicable pull towards her, as if she were beckoning him into her world. Suddenly, the rocking chair began to move, its wooden arms creaking rhythmically back and forth as if propelled by an unseen hand. Emily gasped, her eyes wide with terror. "This is creepy, even for you, Lucas," she hissed, backing towards the door. As Lucas turned to follow, he realized with a jolt that the door was gone. He ran his hands over the wall where the door had been, but there was no trace of it. Panic surged through him, cold and sharp. He was trapped. The room seemed to shrink around him, the air growing thick and oppressive. He spun around, his heart pounding against his ribs. He could hear his friends' muffled voices on the other side of the wall, their calls growing fainter as if they were moving away. He was alone. He turned back to the portrait, his gaze drawn to the girl's piercing blue eyes. They seemed to follow his every move, her unsettling smile widening. He stumbled back, his hand knocking against the vanity table. The silver hairbrush tumbled to the floor with a clatter, and in its reflection he saw her. The girl from the portrait standing behind him, her pale hand reaching out towards him. The last thing he heard before the darkness consumed him was the sound of his own terrified scream, echoing through the empty house. His friends searched for hours, their calls growing more frantic, their hope dwindling with every passing moment. They never found Lucas, but when they finally stumbled upon the hidden room once more, it was empty, except for the portrait of the young girl above the fireplace. She now had Lucas by the hand, his terrified face a mirror image of her own unsettling smile. They were both trapped now, forever bound to the haunted room.